I'm Michelle Dewbs and I'm keeping you company until 7 o'clock tonight, and happy Monday to you all. Alongside me, a new face onto this programme, Will Kingston. He's a podcast host and broadcaster. In fact, you present GB News Saturday night.
Yeah, I'm part of the Saturday 5 gang, 6 p.m. on GB News. We're going to 3 hours on Saturday night, so, too much is never enough.
There you go. So if you're sitting there saying, who is this fella? You've been missing out. What have you been doing with your Saturday nights? If you've not already been watching him, there you go. You can change and you can start from next Saturday alongside him, a face that you'll be perhaps more familiar with on this show. Some of you perhaps will be reaching for your blood pressure tablets already just at the mere sight of her. It's Scarlett Maguire, the former Labour advisor. Good evening to both of you. You're very welcome tonight.
Good evening.
If you're not already clutching for your blood pressure tablets, you will be a bit later on in the programme when I tell you that many of you will find yourselves agreeing with Tony Blair tonight. Yes, you heard me right. I'll explain all a bit later on in the programme. And as always, you're very, very welcome. You can get in touch with me all the usual ways. You can email gbviews@gbnews.com. You can go to the website gbnews.com/yoursay. Or, of course, you can tweet or you can X me wherever you're watching and listening. You are very, very welcome tonight. Now, I want to start talking about these rape gangs. I find myself feeling more optimistic this week, and that's always good, isn't it? In this doom and gloom world, it's always good to have a bit of optimism. And the reason why I feel optimistic is because I feel like we are finally in a situation where we will, in my humble opinion, find ourselves in a situation where we will be heading towards a national inquiry for these rape gangs. I think it's long overdue. Many of these girls have just been failed for so many years now. We know about that. The reason I'm feeling optimistic, and tell me whether or not you agree with me at home, is because Sarah Champion, the Labour MP for Rotherham, she's got a huge history in this situation. Many of you will remember the article that she wrote in the Sun newspaper speaking out very, very tough about this. This was back in, I think, 2017. Well, anyway, she has announced her support today for a national inquiry. She's published a 5-point plan as part of that. It does feel, like there's momentum now. You've had, of course, we saw Andy Burnham, we've had Dan Cardell, Paul Ward. There's all these different MPs now going against the Labour official position. Do you think we're getting somewhere, do you think?
I hope so, Michelle, because we can't let this just fall out of the news cycle without action like it has so many times before. It would be a betrayal to victims, both from the past and, sadly, victims still to come, because this is still very much an ongoing problem. I think it is very important for us to keep in mind why it is important to have a national inquiry. And there's obviously the procedural side to say that you can compel people to actually appear in a way you can't with local inquiries. But the fact of the matter is that there are so many problems which are national in scope that need to be discussed, which you don't discuss in a local level, whether it be how we think about multiculturalism, whether it be how we think about immigration, or whether it be the fact that these gangs operate through national networks. It doesn't just stop and start and end in Rotherham or start and end in Bradford. These are national networks that require national conversations. This is incredibly important.
Here to that. Get your thoughts in and I'll bring you into the conversation in a second. Scarlett Maguire, the last time you was in, I gave you a little bit of homework. I was suggesting to you to read some of these transcripts, to perhaps look at some of the examples, the details of this kind of crime that's quite prevalent and out there now in the public domain. Did you do that?
No, I didn't do that. Look,
Scarlett Maguire, why?
Because I have been incredibly busy. Look,
no,
hold on, Michelle.
Come on, Scarlett.
Actually, you didn't. You told me the homework was to actually watch the Tommy Robinson video, which was 2 hours long. Serious? Hold on, Michelle.
No. On this, and my viewers will have seen the programme. On this programme, we was asked, it was Ben Habib actually that had asked you whether or not you'd read the transcripts for this crime, because you was telling everyone that 85% of paedophiles are white, a stat that I don't dispute, by the way. And what I was trying to explain to you was, yes, that statistic is accurate. We're a majority white country, so it's not a surprise that the majority of disgusting paedophiles are white. No one disputing that. The point we was discussing, as I was saying, and Ben was saying as well, that these crimes are specific, they're unique in nature, revolting. And we were both saying to you that actually, looking at these transcripts, the sentencing transcripts, it's key to understanding this issue. So I'm surprised that you wouldn't have, out of your own interest.
If you'd ever let me actually have a look, what matters is what's happening to those young. They were girls. They're probably young women now, right? I am not disputing.
It's still happening.
What is happening, but also a lot of them. I mean, what is?
But how do you know what's happening if you weren't taking time to avail yourself of the information?
Because I have read the papers. I've read how awful it is. What I'm saying is that what it's about is it's about stopping it from happening in future, and it's about supporting them at the moment. And what's really important is that what we have to understand is how long it takes them to come, and that's why we're going to have more and more cases from before. That's why when people say, you know, there's a data gap, they're absolutely right. Is that these are cases where we are waiting. We need to encourage these women, these girls, to come forwards, and that they will be supported, instead of the terrible stories of, you know, going into a police station and being sent back with one of the men, right? That is what is absolutely disgusting, and that is what's got to change. And what we need to do is we need to work out how to change it, right? And
surely a national inquiry is the right way to go about doing that.
I've never opposed a national inquiry. What I have said, which is incredibly important, is that there was an inquiry, not just into this, but in child sexual abuse. There were 20 recommendations, and we've got to put those, and that's what...
That's the point. This is a distinct problem from child sexual abuse as an umbrella term.
I'm not arguing with you, Will.
This was a subsection of a subsection in that report. But we both agree that a national inquiry is a good thing. I'm actually really curious as to why you think Labor aren't going along with it, because I think we both agree this is a no-brainer. I don't understand it.
OK, so there were two different... One is I think the problem was it was made political in a ridiculous sense, right? So that last week we actually had... We had what was called the reasoned amendment, OK, against the Child and Welfare Bill. So had the call for a national inquiry been accepted, that whole bill, which had things in there that would have stopped somebody like Sarah Sharif being murdered, would have gone, right? It was an incredibly cynical bill. And instead of working together, as actually they did when Theresa May set up, and that's how long ago it was, when Theresa May set up the Child Sexual Exploitation Commission with Alexis Jay, it had cross-party support. And what you want to do is you don't want to turn it into a political football.
I don't think the public are going to accept political gameplay as a reason not to do this.
I'm not saying that. I'm trying to say that we don't want it to be turned into political football, and we want to listen to people like Sarah Champion.
I make no apology for labouring this point. I don't understand why you don't want to read and understand what's happened to these girls. I can't process that. You as an individual, you're a paid current affairs commentator. This is one of the biggest stories that's been dominating headlines internationally now.
Michelle,
why wouldn't you want to understand?
I have read. What I haven't read is the transcripts. I've read the newspaper.
But why?
Actually, because I find it really difficult. I find it really, really difficult, because when I read about those girls, I put myself in those girls' position. I imagine what it's like to be a 12-year-old taken off the street, and good. It just makes me sick.
Yeah, but
right?
You know what? It's not about people feeling sick. Because if people feel sick, so let me get.
What I'm saying is, I'm talking about doing something.
Why wouldn't you? You sat on here last week. It was last week. We had this conversation. One of my panellists asked you specifically, have you read the transcripts?
And I said no.
Afterwards. Yeah, but fast forward a week, you still haven't read them. I can't process
I cannot understand. I seriously cannot understand why finding out the absolute details of what happened to these poor girls would make me feel any more strongly that something's got to happen, that these men should go down for it, that actually we should have done something, and that these girls were absolutely let down by everybody, by social workers, by counsellors, by the police.
Right, I'll tell you what you say makes you feel sick reading these potentially. I'll tell you what makes me feel sick. The fact that people still have not cottoned onto the absolute disgusting nature of what has happened to these people. And I would argue, I would bet every single cent that I had, every penny, everything that I had, I would bet it that this is still happening in towns and cities up and down the country today. I would bet every everything that I had. And the thing is, it's not acceptable for people in the media to turn around and say, do you know what, I'm going to turn a blind eye to this. I'm not going to absorb this information because it'll make me feel sick.
Michelle, hold on. One minute. Let's stop. I am not turning a blind eye, right?
You just said you've not read the details.
That is not turning a blind eye.
What is it then? If you won't even look at it because you're turning the other way because it makes you feel sick, what is it then?
I am not. I have said I have read the newspaper reports. I have done what I can to talk to people about inquiries. I really, really mind you turning around and saying, "Oh, you've turned a blind eye." I have not turned a blind eye. I have been arguing.
I feel like you have. In fact, I don't feel like you have.
Sorry,
anyway.
Will, have you read all the transcripts?
I haven't read all of them, but I've read selections of the transcripts.
Can I just be clear? Because it's not about Scarlett as an individual. I'm probably putting it onto her because she's the person.
Yeah, you are
here.
actually.
Yeah, well, I'm sick of it. I think, especially if you're going to be a paid current affairs commentator, you have to make sure that you understand the issues of which we're discussing. And I am getting sick and tired to broaden this out from Scarlett because it's not an attack on one individual. There are too many people in the media class today that simply refuse to understand the disgusting nature of what's happened. And one of the reasons, I'm not aiming this at Scarlett, one of the reasons that people continue to turn a blind eye in the places like the media and so on, it's class. There is an issue that people look down on these girls because of their working class nature, because of their accents, because of their backgrounds, because of their family situations. I promise you, it will still be going on in the country today. Please, I beg all of you, including you, read the information.
Michelle, hold on.
The information is not difficult.
I say these are the most vulnerable. And it's not just class, right? It's not just that they're working class white girls. It's that they've been in care. It's that they don't have two parents. They are the most vulnerable, right? And for you to say that I don't care about them because I have said, and I said last week, I said what we need to be thinking about is the victims. They are the most important, right? And we needn't.
Can you name me a victim? Do you know a prominent victim?
Well, the Sarah. I'm terrible with names, right? I probably most of the time don't even know your last name.
Look.